Strategic Sword and Heaven Quaker's build has the easiest gear tuning requirements. You can very easily pull the maximum out of your gear with these builds. So to be functional for this Bellstrike Umbra, you need the following thresholds to make sure you maintain the consistent crit damage and buff burst effects. So mandatory is to maintain your affinity at above 38%. So the two optional stats are to maintain your precision to above 98% and to maintain your critical rate to above 48%. So these are the thresholds. Let's say if you are below the threshold, your bleed feel a bit RNGs. So if you are above the threshold, you can deliver consistent bleed uptime. So for this build, the priority stat should be the first priority is the very best stat. The best priority is the max physical attacks, affinity rate, and your power. And for the second priority for the stat is your momentum, precision rate, critical rate, and Bellstrike attack bonus. So you want to get this as your favorite stat. And do you know you have 40 stats in all your gear? You have 40 slots of stat you can go. Because each equipment gives you 1 initial stat and 4 tuning stats, which make up to 5 stat slots. And you have 8 gears, 8 times 5 is 40 stat slots for your characters at all times. So if you have priority stat at least half of these 40 stat slots, you are considered very good already. But each priority stat cannot be too much. Don't overboost the specific stat. For example, you don't want the precision to go above 100, which becomes useless, so you don't want this to overboost your characters. So let's back to the threshold just now. So to maintain affinities above 38%, you need at least 6 slots of affinities, then plus 3 momentum slots in order to maintain your affinities above 38%. Then as an optional to achieve the precision above 90%, you need 3 slots of precision in any of your gear piece. Then you need 4 slots of critical stat also to maintain your 48% of the critical rate. Then also if you notice that there is a martial art talent requirement for your power threshold to boost your affinity rate, so you need to have at least 3 power slots in your gear to reach 200 requirements to pull out the maximum from your martial art talents to boost your affinity. And because your affinity base damage based on your max physical attacks, so you need to have maximum physical attack stat as much as possible. In perfect gear, you can have 12 of these maximum physical attack slots. So as a breakdown of these 4 weapon quadrant slots, you can get max physical attack in your initial stat and also your tuning stat. So in one offensive gear, you can get 2 of this maximum physical attack stat. So for one offensive gear, you can get 2 of this maximum physical attack stat. And then for your defensive quadrants, you can get 1 maximum physical attack from the tunings for each gear, so which make up to 12 slots. So there's 8 from the offensive quadrant, 4 from the defensive quadrants. So here is the ideal stat slot for all your 40 gear slots. So you need to have 6 affinity stat slots out of your 40 slots, which is your mandatory in this Bellstrike Umbra. Then you need to have 3 stat slots for your momentums, which is good to have. Then 3 stat slots for your powers, this is also good to have. Then you need to have as many like 12 number of the max physical attacks as much as possible for your gear. Then 3 slots of the precision, 5 slots of the critical attacks, then the remaining slot to get as much of the Bellstrike attack bonus as much as possible. And particularly this is for top players. So if you are like me, casual players, so not very hardworking, so the bottom line is that you need to keep the affinity as high as possible. So make sure you get the initial stat correct before you tune your gear. You want to get as much affinity, as much as the max physical attack as much as possible. So the rest is just RNG. If you get it, you smile, you're happy. If you don't get, that's totally okay. So that's all for the video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.